ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ.
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon to everyone. I am Afrin hosting the program. I welcome one and all for today's creative online talk. Creative. Pre means creativity and active means activeness. To be active, we need creativity. Vision of creative to build constructive thinking on various domains. Our main focus on non-textual, non-academic, non-syllabus related concept. Creative is a platform to a subject expert to present their experience, work, report, and many more with interested audience. Every Saturday, Creative organizes Weekend Talk on different concept around 3 to 4 p.m. on Zoom platform and live streaming on our YouTube channel, Creative GBD. Creative is thankful to all our resource person for engaging us with their knowledge. A true naturalist is a silent storyteller, translating the language of wilderness through the lens of outreach. The objective of today's talk would be highlighting the effect of virtual in- instructions in the protected areas, with special reference to road in PAs and their effect on wildlife in the form of road kills. This is one of the most neglected part in the wildlife conservation, and with increasing road and highways with invariable crisscross, the protected areas monitoring of this become imperative and works on the best ways to avoid roadkills and save wildlife from the next threat. Today's creative topic is road ecology, special reference to roadkills. To present this, we have today's speaker, Mr. Saptagiri M. Kesar, Aranya Outreach, naturalist, wildlife photographer, and traveler. He is current, and now I am here to introduce today's speaker, Mr. Saptagiri Shemke. He is currently working as a SR auditor at Comptroller Auditor General Office in Bangalore. He completed his bachelor's in chemistry, geology, and environmental science, and he have masters of science in environmental science at University of Mysore. He is passionate about wildlife, especially animal behavior, has been working with the forest department on various aspects of life. Major tasks have included bringing out technical report on protected areas, roadkills, monitoring of species, development of interpretation center, n- um, mammal animals, conflict, and documenting of wildlife leading to conservation. Experience in the fields of environment education, including strategizing and implementing program for school for the forest department with different target groups, including teachers and the general public. He has he has taken many projects and associated in number of wildlife surveys and also with the development of wildlife documentaries. Wild elephant captures snakes of Karnataka and presented various publications on roadkill. We welcome you, sir, for today's section, and I welcome all the participants for today's reactive talk. Over to sir.
Thank you. Good afternoon, one and all. Namaskara ellargu. So today's topic would be very different. Probably some of you might know about road ecology, and many of you would be introduced to road ecology today. So basically, road ecology is a fairly unstudied subject in our country, and unfortunately, somehow it's been neglected. So I would like to highlight the effects of roads on wildlife today, because we'll be talking about wildlife and its conservation. And roads play a major role in the wildlife conservation. So to start with, we'll start with the highway. So roads. Roads are the center of human development. There is no doubt about it. We need roads for the development of country as does an individual. We need roads to communicate from one area to another, and it's the basic structure which is required for the development of a country. So without roads, nothing is possible. At the same time, as we go through this session, you'll understand how the roads are actually affecting our natural wildlife and how we can play a role in conserving this wildlife, and the roads which threaten the wildlife can be used in a better way so that we can live in harmony. At the end of it, it's like we all are the owners of this planet, not only human, though the development today is human centric, but without other species we won't survive. So moving on to the next slides, like I said, roads crisscross every area of our country, and inevitably we also have to crisscross the forest patches like this, which is a beautiful forest patch of the Western Ghats, but roads are there also. And these are the stretches of Western Ghats wherein we have numerous national highways which connect different states. Like I said, it's inevitable, but it's also a threat to the wildlife, and which we will know as we go through. So when we drive through the forest patches, we always enjoy it. We enjoy the nature, we enjoy the beauty of the landscape, and say what a drive it is. So as we drive further and further, somewhere we come and stop at a screeching halt. So when we see an animal dead, so I don't know how many of you have seen these, but you need to have an eye for this. And while traveling through the forest, if you are careful enough, if you are vigilant enough, you can see a lot of animal birds as well as some of the roadkills like you see in this picture. Today, my talk will be concentrated on the animals which are killed in their natural habitat by speeding vehicles. So we all know forests today are under various pressures in various pressures, basically due to human development. So one of the major things for our survival is agriculture, and agriculture is there from time immemorial, and it's a basic need again. But the encroachment of forests to convert to agricultural land is fascinating so much that we have an imbalance, and that could really lead to a threat. We all know that. And next is poaching and hunting is common everywhere. It's a global phenomena and a global issue which has been addressed at various platforms to control it. But to some extent, we have been successful to reduce poaching and hunting. But until the human greed is not stopped, the hunting and poaching and various uh, influence on the wildlife will not stop. So next, like these are some of the examples which I'm sharing with you, people, which we already know, like the snares to catch the wild prey so that we can feed on it. That is bushmeat. Unfortunately, larger carnivores and which are threatened by extinction are also a part of it. Skin trade is common, right, again from time immemorial, and a lot of NGOs, the governments, and at the international level, people are fighting to really stop this skin trade and conserve our wildlife. Exploitation of forest vegetation for various reasons. This is canarium. ಧೂಪದ ಮರ ಅಂತ ಧೂಪ ನಾವೆಲ್ಲ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಲ್ಲ ದೇವ್ರ ಮುಂದೆ ಇಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ. ಧೂಪದ ಮರ ಸಿಗೋದು ನಮಗೆ ಈ ವೆಸ್ಟರ್ನ್ ಘಾಟ್ಸ್ ರೀಜನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕೆನೇರಿಯಂ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಒಂದು ಟ್ರೀ, and we have to extract it from it, and a lot of trees have been actually destroyed for dhupa. So all these things actually leads to man animal conflict. We are interfering in natural cycle of our nature. So the wildlife have no other option but to move out of their hold and come into human dominated areas at times, leading to man animal conflict. So linear intrusions, whatever we talk today is about linear intrusions, and roads are one of the forms of linear intrusions. There are various other linear intrusions, which we have seen, like huge pipelines going through the protected areas, power transmission lines going through the protected areas, lift irrigations and canals which are dug into the forest areas at times to reach various places. Then we have the railway range, which really cut through the forests connecting to cities or to states. Then we have the wildlife barricades which are coming up to control the man-animal conflicts. These are all considered as linear intrusions, and in that, road plays a very major part. And as we go through the slides, we see like how roads are considered as hell from an animal perspective or from a wildlife perspective. So these are some of the images which are taken on in the forest areas, which are on the roads which have crisscrossed the forest areas, and animals have been run over. So let's get into the details of road ecology today. And road ecology, and my topic would be with special reference to road kills. There are a lot of effects which a road can bring when it's crisscrossing the wildlife, but today I'll be concentrating only the road kills. So if you look, let's quickly go through some slides which talks about ecology. What is ecology? We all know it is a scientific study of biotic and abiotic. That means living and non-living components which interact in a given area or an environment is called ecology. And this term was derived from a Greek word, okiology, meaning household knowledge. And it was turned by Haeckel, a German biologist. So coming on to what is road ecology? What is road ecology? It's a study on interaction of roads on the biotic and abiotic components of a given area and their effects on changing the natural environment, has given rise to a new science itself, which is called road ecology. Earlier, we were not at all worried about the road kills, or nobody was really bothered, or nobody had an idea of road can also play a major role in the dissemination of our wildlife. So over the years, when people started studying on roads within the national parks and protected areas, they came to know that there is an important aspect which we are missing in the conservation link, that is the road ecology. Let's go quickly into the road evolutions. Evolution of roads, we all know roads started as long as Stone Age when tracks were made by primitive men to move. However, it was the Romans who first built roads as we know them today in the year 312 BC. So that old that roads are there. Roads in India, Indian roads evolved during the regime of Harappa and Mohenjo-daro as early as 500 BC. We know that was the time when actually this thing took off in the country. However, it was the 21st century that roads started to reach every nook and corner of the country in the name of development. Today, India has a road network of around 3.01 million kilometers of road, which is connected in India. About 1,15,435 kilometers of national highways. That means it has at least 10 lanes, 6 to 10 lanes of road. That is the width of a national highway. And just imagine a national highway going through the forest with such a huge linear intrusion. So then we have the state highways, which is 1,76,000 odd kilometers. Then we have an informal network of about 27,37,000 kilometers. Just for information, so how much roads we have and how many of these roads pass through our forests? It's like, every forest invariably has been intruded by these roads, because we need to connect to people from various states and various cities. So roads are inevitable. So let's get into what are the effects of roads on wildlife. So initially, like I said, if we are going to build a national highway, the width of the roads, like it will be more than a kilometer width. Like we have 10 lanes or something coming up, and the fragmentation of forest is bound to happen. The forest of fragmentation is bound to happen, and the view sites and number of trees which have been culled for the sake of this would be in millions and millions. So then we have the edge effect. Once you open a closed forest, there is a term called the edge effect, which takes place. Like, edge effect is one thing wherein forest has been introduced to new species when it's opened up, and this new species actually fight with the existing species and push them to isolation or probably even towards extinction, and they take over, and this process is called as edge effect. Then there are chances of species isolation by the roads, which are wide enough to separate them from crossing over the forest from this side to the other. The small species like the frogs and the insects which cannot move across the roads, gradually they get isolated and they are put into one corner. So species isolation is one of the effects of roads in wildlife. Then introduction of new species, this again is part of the edge effect. As the forest is open, new species come in. It could be birds, mammals, or even the plants, which play a major role in the forest ecosystem. So hunting and poaching will be facilitated. I won't say it's a direct this thing, but once the road network is opened up, it becomes easier for the poachers and hunter gatherers to move around easily in the protected areas. Though we have a stringent law and the forest department and the government is having a lot of checkposts and certain things, still the roads passing through the national highways, I mean the national parks and protected areas, always kind of supplement hunting and poaching. Finally, roadkills. Roadkills we'll be talking in detail, and all these factors could affect to local extinction of species. So some of the studies have also shown that because of roads and the pressure of the vehicles and poaching and hunting in certain areas have pushed some species to local extinction. So coming to what is a roadkill basically. So wild animals which are killed by speeding vehicles in their habitat are referred to as roadkills. So we have observed two kinds of roadkills here basically. One is the impact roadkill and the other one is runover or crushed roadkill. So what is an impact roadkill? An impact roadkill is one wherein the vehicle hits an animal, but the animal doesn't have any external injury, but it might survive at that point of time, but they just run away and probably die somewhere else due to the internal injuries, and these are not at all recorded, and nobody knows why that animal died or something until the postmortem is done. Many a times in the wildlife in the protected areas, when the animals go into the wild and die, it's not at all recorded or not even known by anyone until somebody sees it. So the accountable of the road impact roadkill is very less, whereas the runover or crushed roadkills is something which can be an evidence for the speeding vehicles which we see immediately on the roads, and here the vehicles literally crushes the animal and the animal dies instantaneously. So, like effects of roadkills, as I said in the road ecology, also local species extinction is one of the threats because of roadkills. Food chain leading to more roadkills, and there are behavioral alterations which have been observed when the animals are exposed more and more to the speeding vehicles. So these are some of the effects of roadkills. So let's go quickly through some slides wherein I've documented a few roadkills like these snakes, spectacled cobras, banded kukuri, green vine, and Russell's viper, and python. This is one of the major things. So we see a lot of roadkills of snakes after the monsoons and after the rains or during the winter season. This is because the many of them are nocturnal, first thing, and second thing is during winters and rainy seasons, snakes being or the reptiles being cold blooded, they moderate their body temperature based on the temperature available around, and since roads are more warmer than the surrounding areas, they prefer to come to roads during winters and after the rains, and when they are on the roads, the vehicles which move in at a speed of 80, 100 kilometers in national parks can hardly see these animals, and they just run over it. And here in this picture you can just see the python. It's so wonderful species, but wonderful specimen. Unfortunately, little slower. If the vehicle was traveled little slower, or it was the speed was limited, he could have avoided the kill here. Only the head is crushed, the body is completely intact. And these are some of the examples where rash driving and speeding in national parks or wildlife sanctuaries can lead to some of the deaths of this rare species. This is another python which was again run over by a vehicle. It's not only the snakes. Then we come to the mammals. When we come to the mammals, we have these jungle cats. We saw it in the Nagarole and Bandipur road. We have seen common mongoose again, the small Indian civet, and then the common palm civet. Again, these species are all nocturnal. So these nocturnal species are more prone to road kills than the diurnal ones, because in the night uh, the headlights play a major role. And your headlights, once they hit the animals get startled because they are moving in the dark, and the immediate flashlight which falls on them, they get stunned, and they actually pause for a minute or few seconds. In that time, the vehicle speed matters, and if we can't control the speed, we generally run over these animals. So nocturnal species are uh, the one of the major species which are really affected by the speeding vehicles in the forest during nights. Another common palm civet we saw. So again, the porcupine, another nocturnal species. This was shot near Bandipur. Then we have primates also. Primates are we see the primates generally on the trees, but even the primates have been recorded as roadkills in many places, and this is one of the common langur which was recorded in Dandeli National Park. And this happened just a few minutes before we reached the spot, probably run over by a bus or a car. And why would I bring a langur here is that the canopies play a important role for these primates. This is an LTM, which is an endemic species for Western Ghats, and it is recorded. It had a feature wherein earlier, when the researchers really went to see these animals, they could never see them on the ground at all. So 95% of their life was arboreal. They always stuck on the canopy. They used to find everything and on the canopy. But unfortunately, today, with the widening of roads and removing of trees on the edges of the roads, the canopy is broken, and the canopy is fragmented actually. And these animals, which are herbivores and feed on the uh, flower, I mean, young tender leaves and other insects on the trees, they have to move and cover a lot of area because they live in groups. And since the canopy is broken, inevitably they have to come down, cross the road, and then take up the next tree after the road. So in the process, we have also recorded the LTMs which never used to come down onto the ground of forest floor are being killed on roads, which is pathetic actually. And this we can see the animals which try to cover the canopy breaks at times. This was one of the smaller roads wherein the langur tried to cross the road, and the canopy, since the canopy is broken, it has to take a leap. So these primates are pretty good when they take the leap, but they also gauge the width of the road, and they easily manage it. But many a times, due to the pressure, and probably due to the expansion of the roads, the canopy is far away from each other, and many a times they might fall down onto the ground and might get crushed by vehicles. So the canopy breakage or the fragmentation of canopy is something which the road really breaks through the forest. So primates, snakes, and mammals, and even birds are not like uh, spared from being roadkill. This is a white-breasted water hen, and we have cockle, or the crow present, which is hit by a bus or a lorry. and these are all low flyers. They don't really go on at the higher altitude. They just fly at a low level and probably hit by vehicle. This is common myna. And we have the jungle babbler. Why we see these jungle babblers die is they are on the forest floors, and while moving in the forest, they have to cross the roads at times. And at the edges of the forest, they find food for themselves. And in the process of picking up these food, which are chucked by us, the grains or probably a packet of chips or whatever we throw from the car or by the passing vehicle in the forest, they are one of the threats to the wildlife. And we can see these birds are also coming and trying to feed on the edges of the roads and sometimes in the middle of the road, and in the nick of a time, if they don't fly, they might get caught and get killed on the roads. So coming to the insects, probably we might think, oh, what is it? Insects, it doesn't matter to us. But we all know and understand very clearly that the beetles and bees play a very major role of pollination. And without these beetles and bees and many other insects, cross pollination wouldn't have been possible the way it is happening in the wild today. If we eradicate all these things, probably our forest will go down at a drastically, and within years, we can see that the certain species of plant might go locally extinct. So these insects are also very important for us. And I have seen vehicles, uh, the vehicles windshield or front this thing wherein fans wherein hundreds of insects have been killed, especially during when they spawn out from their nest, and when they come out of their nest and they go up in the air, and because of the light they are attracted towards the vehicle and they are killed. So even the insects and beetles, including the beetles and bees, are very important to us. But to be very frank, like it's really difficult to control this. But somewhere, if we can reduce the speed and monitor and go at a lesser speed, probably they'll have a second chance of surviving in of the impact of the speed is reduced. They might have a chance to survive. Similarly, the butterflies and butterflies also play a very important role, and especially during the butterfly migration, we see hundreds of them on the roads, hundreds of them run over on the roads, hundreds of them on the windshields of the vehicles, hit on the windshields, they die because of the speed. And certain studies have shown that if we go at a speed of 35 to 40 kilometers, they have a chance to avoid the impact of this windscreen, and they have chances of survival. So that is why we generally put up sea boards in the national parks and protected areas today, that the speed limit should be around 35 or 40, wherein we give a chance for these species to take a take the impact. If we are above 40, the impact would definitely kill them. So if we are just within 40 and 35 kilometers, they have a chance of surviving the impact, and more species and more numbers of these species can survive. So like I was talking, like the food chain, how food chain comes in the road as a roadkill. So when an animal is killed on the road, there are other species which comes and feed on it. So nothing goes waste in wild, like wherever it is, even if it's in the wild, if some animal kills a deer and it's full and it leaves, the scavengers come in, the vultures come in, the insects come in, a lot of maggots come in, they clear everything. None of the thing is gone wasted there. Like how we waste, the animals won't waste even a single bit of the biomass. So they come and finish everything. So here we can see this is almost a pit viper which was run over by a vehicle, and these ants came to feed on it, and ultimately they are also run over and killed. So these kind of a lot of food chains we have seen, like a frog, or I mean snake trying to eat the frog and it's run over by the vehicle, and both the frog and the snake have been killed and stuff like that. And birds, many a times, and many lizards come to feed on the insects on the road, and they are run over. And we can see the brahmini kite, which generally comes, and probably you would see these birds in and around the city also coming in, scooping down onto the road, pick up some of the dead dog meat or even the rats which are run over. So these are some things which we can observe even in city. And these birds which are high flyers, when they come and swoop down to pick up their road kills, end up as road kills at times. So in urban setup also we see a lot of roadkills. Like in Mysore, we had this wonderful family of jackals in Kukrali, Kere, and the JC College. And in the process of crossing the road adjacent to the Kukrali Lake, we lost two jackals in a span of 2 weeks. And now the population, probably this would be the major, dominant male and female or something. So today we are not seeing these jackals in Kukrali Lake. Probably they have shifted the rest of the pack, or maybe the dominant male and female has died through various reasons, and probably these two on the roadkill. So the whole clutch or the whole group of these jackals are vanished from Kukrali Lake today. So then we see these commonly in cities. This is just to give an idea that it's not only in the wild that we see the roadkill, but in our near vicinity also we can see and observe what happens. So this again is common palm civet and the nightjar next near Mysore itself. So this is a common palm civet, and once we were traveling early morning towards the Nagarole National Park, and we stopped at some point seeing this roadkill, and I was picturing it, and with my friend Rajesh, and some of the villagers came early morning. It was around 5 ish, 5:30, and they said, "What are we doing?" So we just told them like. We study roadkills, and I saw this thing dead, so I'm taking a picture of it. And he said, okay, ida iri ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಇದೆ ತೋರಿಸ್ತೀನಿ. Like he said, there is one more bigger one which is dead few meters far away from this thing. This is the common palm civet young one. Then we realized the mother of this was run over 2 days back, and these villagers have observed the young one coming to search his mother. So unfortunately, after 2 days, even this young fellow was run over by a speeding vehicle. So one leads to another. So especially in wild and even in a human, this thing, if we lose the parents, it's like almost our life in a jeopardy. And many a times in wild, if the young ones doesn't know how to fend for itself, definitely if the parents are lost, or if the mother or the father is lost to some accident or uh, some way, the younger ones are also perished for sure. Unlike humans, wherein we have a relatives who can take care, but in wildlife it's not the case. Like this was an evident thing which we saw, and mother is dead, and in the span of 2 days the young one was also roadkill. So this is another incident wherein I was talking about the impact roadkill, and this is a classic example of the impact roadkill. This happened on the Chamundi Hill in Mysore. So this Chamundi Hill hosts a few passing leopards, and we still have few leopards in Mysore which are using this as a transition zone. And one of the days we got a call said that one of the leopards is sleeping on the road. So immediately me and my friends and we all went there, and we saw this leopard just hanging on the road. And when we approached it, we realized that there was something wrong in it, but we couldn't see anything, any injury on the body. But basically, as we moved our vehicle closer and closer, we realized that it was not able to move. So after looking at it for a few more times, we realized probably this was hit by one of the vehicles. And finally, somehow it scrambled and moved into the bush next to the road. And immediately the forest department and all were informed, and they came, and we had to take it and shift it to a veterinary hospital. And those days, Mysore Zoo was the place where we whatever injured animals, or even today we have the Chamundi Rehabilitation Center in Mysore, which hosts a lot of injured and abandoned calves of the wildlife. brought there. So this was picked up, and the process in which we people, the forest department, handled was also like trauma, very traumatic for the animal. Already it has been hit by a vehicle and it has been traumatized, and the way we handled it was really bad, and probably in the process of handling it we have injured it even more. And in day, this leopard was declared dead, and after the postmortem and all, we got to know that it was in fact hit by a vehicle, and internally it had bled, and the bones were all broken. So this is one of the classic examples of impact roadkill which I have witnessed. So, as we were talking about these animals, it's we can say and justify ourselves saying the animal was small, we couldn't see it. The animal came all of a sudden in front of our vehicle, and we couldn't control it and all. But what surprises me is like huge elephants, which are like visible from a distance, are also run over many a times. And even a few months back, two were killed on the one of the national highways in Karnataka again, and this was one of the roadkills which really astonished me. The way the vehicle really run over the elephant, and still it was intact. And this happened in the Babli Road, Mulevole Road, which leads to Kerala from Karnataka. It's part of Bandipur National Park, and we can see this young male literally run over by the speeding lorry, and it died instantaneously. And the mother was literally not allowing anyone to get closer to the lorry, and the department had to fire in the air and stuff like that. But still, she didn't leave the kid, its calf, for 3 to 4 hours. And after many rounds of firing and blasting of clackers, they had to move the cow from the calf. And the point is, like, when the smaller mammals or the nocturnal species are gone, it's still understandable. But during the bright light, and when the animals are run over like this, it's just the negligence on the human part and the drivers who recklessly drive in such sensitive areas. And unfortunately, nobody will believe the driver was caught, and since the vehicle was there, the driver was caught and summoned to the court, and probably and the amount which he had to pay as fine was a pity 5,000 rupees, which is the value of this young elephant, which would have been a wonderful uh, tusker in few years. So this is the pathetic state of the wildlife in our country, because we are not giving the due importance which they are to be given. And the rules and regulations are there, but it's not implemented as it is supposed to be implemented. So some of the rarest species are also uh, run over by the speeding vehicles, like this black panther. So some of the statistics which I had collected for my research, and we can see the kind of deaths recorded here, like especially 11, 12, 2,969 species of animals were killed, out of which 1,306 amphibians. Amphibians include our frogs, toads, and also the Sicilians. Uh, uh, then we have LTM, lion-tailed macaque, which I was talking like it is one of the endemic species and the most endangered species. Very few numbers are found in the Western Ghat region today. So that losing 9 LTMs in 2 years is huge. That too for a road kill. So these are all the kind of kills which has been taken down, and these are some of the records, some of the published scientific papers which I could collect during my work in Bandipur and Nagarland National Park. And if you look at this Vadodara Ahmedabad Park, the Gujarat Highway, wherein we they have recorded around 50 hyenas, striped hyenas, which have been put. How many of us have actually seen a wild hyena in the wild? I've seen probably 1 or 2 times in my last 20 years of being in wildlife on and off. Uh, these are all the rare species which we lose for sheer negligence of humans and human centric development. So these are some of the papers which I could put a hand on, and the numbers are astonishing. The numbers which have been uh, raising every year, and the documentation is not there, and you really don't know how many species are going without even coming to the notice of the science. And probably many species of frogs would have gone extinct by this time, even before they have been identified in the Western Ghat region, because we have so many national highways and state highways in these sensitive areas. This is one of the case study of Kudremukh Wildlife Sanctuary, and this was really interesting. I was doing some work with the department and in Kudremukh Wildlife Sanctuary, and I had this opportunity to interact with the DCF there, Raja sir, and I had recorded, like collected the information about the roadkills before going to meet him for some personal, I mean, some scientific work. And I told him, sir, I actually inquired with the department to give a data on the roadkills of animals which have been recorded in Bhutan National Park, and they gave around three or four numbers, of which two were gores and one was probably the spotted deer and another sambar. That's all, only four roadkills in last 5 years and stuff like that. But I told him, see, sir, as per the newspaper and some records which are present on the uh, internet, I could gather around seven uh, king cobras have been recorded as dead in your jurisdiction, and it's not brought into the accountability of your monitoring system. So then he was taken aback a minute, and he just asked for the documents, and I provided all the paper cuttings which were there, and the number of roadkills which had taken place in Kudremukh National Park in the last 4 or 5 years. And whatever available data I had, I shared it with him. And then he said, okay, it's a serious issue and we need to do something about it. So I just told him and convinced him that, okay, we'll do one thing, sir. We have a lot of people, anti-poaching staff people. All they have to do is they have to walk through the roads which are crisscrossing our national park, and they have to just take a picture of the roadkills if they see any, and just mark it. And we'll do it for probably a month or something. So you won't believe, after 45 days, they got a record saying that a total of 1,338 roadkills were recorded in only Kudremukh region. That too covering three roads which were crisscrossing it. So it's just a matter of 45 days. So when the department had earlier said they don't have any records of roadkills except for four in 5 years, just imagine 45 days would yield 1,338 numbers of roadkills, which includes like 839 specimens of frogs. We don't know how uh, some of them were not even uh, been able to identify because they were all crushed over. Some of the pictures we got, we could identify some of the rare species of frogs from the Western Ghats. See, 839 frogs in 45 days, it's a huge thing. So these are the things which they could collect during the walk. Many of them would have been eaten up by other scavengers by the time these people have monitored. Like we have done day monitoring and even night monitoring. So probably after the night monitoring, more species would have died, more animals would have died. That's not accountable. So whatever accountable numbers we could get, it's really astonishing that in 45 days we get around 1,338 specimens we have lost from the heart of the Western Ghat. So who is accountable for it? What are we doing? Who is monitoring it regularly? So nobody is doing that. So this is the state of the effect of roads on our species. So once we got this data, sir called me up for my surprise after 45 days or 2 months. He called me and said, okay, Saptagiri, we got data and you were right. Like we got around these many species which are run over by vehicles. So now what is the thing we can do to control these things? So I said the simplest thing we can do is like as you see in this picture, I mean slide also, nights are the thing. During the nights, we lose a lot of animals. Like I was telling earlier, also it could be the headlight which really stops the animal from crossing the road and the speed of the vehicle. which they can't control when the animal suddenly comes from the bush. So but the number is staggering, 1092 in 45 days during the night monitoring. And these are the accounted numbers. We don't know how many was unaccounted for. So the only way of getting away this thing was to have a control on the night traffic. So we discussed in length about this, and he proposed to the government that the night traffic should be banned in Kudremukh Wildlife Sanctuary. But unfortunately, uh, I don't think it is worked. And these are the kind of things which happens, like it's the political will, and the department and the public should stand together. We need to stay in a common platform and also understand that we are surviving because of these landscapes and the species which moderate this landscape, and it's not only the humans who have the right on this planet. So until we do that, I don't think there is any prospect for wildlife to sustain in this ever growing human dominated society, or the human centric globalization. So he tried his best to get the night traffic ban, and they were successful for some days. And probably even today, one of the roads are still, like, the night traffic is banned there. So this small experiment or small monitoring could yield certain results. So the thing is, we need to take it seriously and take it forward to a concrete conclusion. So if we can do that, probably we can save more species in future. So this is the regular news. If people are interested in wildlife, if you see newspapers today, so today it is all about man-animal conflict, run over by vehicles. Either the leopard has killed, or the tiger has killed humans, or the humans have electrocuted elephants. These things are very common, and these, if not addressed properly and scientifically, these things, the man animal conflict will increase day by day, and it's never going to end unless we really find a path, common path of sustainable living with the animals. So, how to avoid roadkills? There have been a lot of studies, like I said, in the Western countries, unlike our country. Now, in our country, we are picking up with road ecology. Many people are studying and monitoring road ecology, but not to the extent that it can be transpired into concrete work, wherein we can pressurize the government to act and bring in certain changes. So, avoiding roadkills, what can be done is construction of wildlife crossing structures, underpasses and overpasses in sensitive areas. So these are one of the common thing which the globally people are doing today, and in our country also, we have been started to work on this. And I'll be showing one of the slides which shows the underpasses structure which has been built in one of the national parks in our country. So construction of wildlife crossing structures, it could be either the wildlife crossing underneath the highway, or a wildlife overpass, wherein we create an overpass wherein the wildlife can cross the road by. Avoid canopy break wherever possible. Avoidance of traffic flow during nights. Like we have seen through the monitoring, it's the number of road kills is more during the night. So it's better to avoid the traffic during the nights, except for emergency purposes. Like we have it in Nagarole and Bandipur regions, where the roads have been blocked since 2006 or 7. And that again was people's fight for the night ban, when a lot of scientists like Sanjay Gupta, Rajkumar, and all came together. They put a case in the High Court, and they fought for it with all the documents giving the evidences of the effect of roads, the night traffic, which is killing the sensitive animals and the endangered species in the Bandipur region. And that was convinced to the court, and the night ban even today continues, even though there is a lot of lobby from the Kerala people to lift the ban so that they can have their share of transportation and commercial things going on. But if you look at it today, it's been more than 15 years. The traffic is going on smoothly, and the three government transport buses are allowed to move in the nights also, and emergency vehicles are left, like ambulances and stuff like that, are given permission to move in the night. So that is how it has to work to have a sustainable living. So avoidance of traffic during night actually plays a very important role. Speed limit for vehicle passing sensitive areas, this should be strictly monitored using the new technologies, like the cameras should be installed every 5 kilometers or 10 kilometers and monitor the speed of the vehicle. Now we have in Nagarole region, wherein uh, at the entrance of the national park, the road crosses through the national park and goes to Kutta from Hunsur. So at the entrance of the Veeranaswandi gate, you get a chalan, wherein the entry time and the vehicle number and everything is monitored, and you have to exit the gate in 40 minutes. So if you go too early, you have crossed the 60 or 70-kilometer speed. So you have to do it uh, within the permissible speed. So that is one way of looking at checking the speed limit, and this has to be implemented everywhere. Strict enforcement of law. So laws, when the perpetrator who has run over animals is caught, it has to be a strict enforcement of law, and under the Wildlife Protection Act and the Honorable Court, the strict punishment should be enforced on the culprits. Signboards, which are common today, a lot of signboards come up after persuasions with the department and the awareness which is being brought today. There are a lot of signboards on the speeding vehicles today. Awareness programs to drivers. We had done few during some 5 years back, but that's not continuing, which has to be done for especially the truck drivers. Pamphlet is being issued at the entrance of Bandipur National Park today. So to how to go and how to monitor drive within the forest zones. So awareness programs is one thing which we have to give and communicate to various people, whether there are the family drive which is going, whether it's buses or any vehicles, trucks or anything. We need to bring in the importance of wildlife and their role, and how to drive in a protected area. So latest technologies like infrared rays have been used in Western countries, wherein these uh, cameras, infrared cameras, have been placed on the edges of the roads, and if there is a movement of an animal, so immediately a buzzer is blown, and vehicle coming probably 100 meters behind itself, they can know that because of the horn and the sound that there is a animal movement, so they have to reduce their speed, and this is working well there, and these similar things can be tried in our country also. And finally, the best way of avoiding roadkills is not to have new highways in the forest. Probably it will take 1 or 2 hours late, so it's acceptable, like being late. We get used to the time, and we can start off if we kill our open up our national parks and protected areas. I don't think there is any future for any country which does that, because forests are the natural resources, are the thing for the survival and sustainability and development of any country. So highways and new roads which are planned to bring in the national parks need to be scientifically worked out, and avoidance of new highways in the forest should be the key for avoiding road kills in future. Like I was saying, underpass and overpasses, these are some of the pictures which you can see here. These are the overpasses for the animals, and this is the underpass for the vehicles, and again an overpass for the animals, again an underpass. So these are animal movements. They also have a particular path which they take actually, and they move in particular ways over the day. And continuous monitoring can help us to understand where the movement is more. And such areas, if we can identify and bring up these overpasses or underpasses, that can really help in avoiding road kills of animals. So this again in Belgium, one of the wonderful and most successful overpasses for the animals. Another one in Netherlands, this is in Kenya. Then one of the very successful work done by the Nature Conservation Foundation in the Western Ghats of Valparai, wherein students are also involved in these projects, wherein there were records of LTMs being roadkill. As I was showing the picture earlier, the lion-tailed macaws, which are endemic to Western Ghats, they were run over by vehicles, and in the span of 2 or 3 years, some 8 or 9 LTMs were run over. And that time, the scientists who were working in Valparai, they came up with a noble idea of creating an artificial bridge and connecting the canopies. So this is the canopy bridge which was installed at the Valparai, and it's a very simple thing, but working effectively. And these are some of the things which we have to start looking in future, wherein we have to give the right of passage for these animals, because we are intruding into their home. They are not coming into the outside the forest. There, though there are some in the fringes, but most of the times we are intruding into their home, and disrespectfully we are just feeding killing them in their own homes. So where do they go? So we have to work a solution wherein both the man and the animal can live sustainably, and this small thing which looks very small but works effectively, these are the things which we have to look for future. And successfully now the LTMs are using these, and such canopy bridges come up many places in Valparai today. This is first dedicated underpass in Kana and Pench, which I was talking earlier. This is one of the classic examples wherein uh, they have worked scientifically and managed it, and bringing up the road in such a way that it doesn't actually affect the wildlife. And this is a more sustainable way of looking at development. And the with such things, probably we are going in the right direction, and in controlling the road kills in the days to come. So this was another classic work and successful of bringing up people participation again is very important, and everybody should and come and talk. Wildlife researchers cannot become wildlife conservationists or something, but everybody can contribute. So this is one of the things when we took up a protest when the Kerala government was pressurizing the Karnataka government to lift the night ban on Bandipur Manandwadi road, and we got a news that probably the night shift would be removed, and the government was thinking of reducing the night time, and like from it was from 6 to 6 actually. They had planned to bring it down. So that's when we took a protest, and we gave a memorandum to the CF there, and in turn wrote to the CM as well as the PMO office, bringing in the delicate structure of the Bandipur National Park and their wildlife, and how lifting the ban could have an impact on that sensitive area. And luckily, with all the pressures from various quarters, the night ban still continues. And if people can gather together, things can be worked out for better sustainable living of our wildlife. So again, at individual level, we've seen everywhere people feeding these bonnets or langurs. We are not helping them. They are in the wild in their home. They know how to gather their food or collect the food. Excuse me. Gather the food and find their food. But just because they are at the edge of the roadside or something, we just throw something out, and they come for free meal or an easy meal, and they get habituated, and they become beggars. Basically, you're not trying to feed them, or you might feel that okay, I'm helping wild animal. I'm feeding them. I'm giving them food because they look thin. They look. weak or something, but that is not the case. The animals have to be fit and trim to sustain the harsh wild and competition within their own structures. So just by feeding them and throwing whatever is left over on the roadsides attracts a lot of animals to come and feed. So any animal scavenge, like I said, right from the tigers to the elephants, they all scavenge. Given an opportunity, a free meal, they definitely would pick up, because that is what their whole aim is, to get the food. If they get food in any sense, they take it. But being home, feeding our food to them will spoil their whole social structure and also their fitness level. So it's better to avoid feeding them and attract them towards the road. So this not only creates a problem in the social structure, but also encourages them to come onto the road, wherein they might again get run over by vehicles waiting for food and trying to beg from the vehicles. So this is one way we can play a role in controlling the road kills. So, like I was saying, litter, no litter is safe. Litter. So you might think this is safe. This doesn't harm anyone. So you can't throw anything anywhere. So whatever you carry in your vehicle, whatever you eat, the whole thing has to be brought back to your city or your home and disposed it properly. So if we do this, I think we are doing a bit of conservation in itself. So if somebody asks me how can I conserve, how can I play a role in conservation, this is the smallest thing you can do at individual level. So with this, I think I can complete my perspective of roads and effect of roads on wildlife. So I would like to conclude by saying that our survival is dependent on the survival of our wildlife and not the other way. Many a times we think we are the most intelligent of animals and we are the best, but unfortunately it's the other way around. They are also equally and more equipped than us. I mean, mentally and strategically they are better off than us, but it's just that the kind of human interference and human centric development which is going is killing our wildlife. If wildlife is not there, we are not there. So with this I conclude my talk, and if there are any questions or anything which can be shared, I'm open for it.
Yeah, now you can ask questions if anyone have your questions.
Sir, for
Unmute your.
the it's a very informative and a very negligible part which I felt. Usually, we never think of animals which dies on the roads. Really, it's a beautiful thing that someone is researching on it and doing some good activities to overcome it, and finding solutions to overcome these things. That's the best part of this presentation, what I felt. The small things are a big impact, what I felt.
Yes, yes.
Yes, really very informative sessions. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And one thing, what government is planning for all these things? We are
uh,
as a out of government, so many students are working on it, and so many independents are working on it. But what government is doing apart of them, sir?
Basically, like I said in my talk, also government is playing a role, like holding the night ban. Even though the Kerala government continuously pressurized our chief ministers and officers here, they, as far as my knowledge goes, 3 years back, 4 years back, there were 7 meetings held between the governments to lift the night traffic ban in Bandipur National Park. But luckily for us, the government stood their stand and they said they are not going to lift the ban, which is a very positive thing, like I said, you know. And if the government sticks to such things, probably we can look very positive things to come in future. Like I said and mentioned in my talk also, there are certain things which needs to be still taken up at a larger extent, and the seriousness of monitoring the roadkills by the department is very essential. And though it looks very small and not much of a concern, you never know how many species have really gone extinct even before coming on to the record, especially in the sensitive areas of Western Ghats. So these things have to be monitored. These things have to be taken up seriously, and probably more students should be working on the impact of roads on wildlife for their higher studies. And if all these things come together, probably we can have a concrete solution and work better, I think, for the conservation of our wildlife.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Any more questions? Afrin, you can conclude.
Yes, ma'am. Sir, thanks a lot, sir, for sharing your knowledge and knowing us about more wildlife and roadkills knowledge, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, pleasure, man. Thank you.
Shall we wind up, ma'am?
Yes, yes, Afrin. Thank you, Afrin. Thank you, Giri sir, for being with us for one big awareness concept. Thank you. Thank you for
Thank you.